Hey guys, welcome back to another video under Cracked Wide Open. I'm Cheryl. Welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you so much. Let me get this all situated here and give everybody a chance to come in. Today I want to talk a little bit about some of the recent two videos I had put up on Cracked Wide Open, because I have some people emailing me and asking me some questions. So I would like to address them on a live feed. So anyone that wants to ask questions can, and if I can answer, I will. How is everyone? I hope you're well. Let me pull up my email here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so hi Pat, how you doing, darling? Thank you all so much for coming in. Happy Saturday to you. If you'll give me just a second, please, I want to call in consciousness for you, for me. You can just place your left hand over your chest. You can touch the thumbs, place your right hand over it, and take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just release everything. Deep breath in. Beautiful. One more. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I always do things in threes because spirit is threes: mind, body, and soul, right? So these questions that I'm getting are quite beautiful. Thank you so much. Hello, Ganja. Hello, Pat. Hello, everybody, for coming in. I put up a couple videos recently on Cracked Wide Open, and I talked about some of the biological markers in our body that occur, some of our mental processes, and I talked a little bit about the pain body. So I'm getting a lot of questions on how do I control my pain body? What makes the pain body have addictive qualities to it? Let me see what the other one is. Okay. The reason that I say that first and foremost, we have to really get this concept down, okay? And it is a mind-boggling concept, a mind-boggling concept. It is not something you're going to be able to analytically wrap around our little brain that we have in our head. Okay, because consciousness is not a concept, and the concept can be learned and taught, and then when you learn it, you believe it and you display it, right? That's a concept. You've come to a conclusion. I'll give you an example. God. You have a concept of God. It's your concept. You were taught it. Someone taught it to you. You learned it. It's your belief system. And you going with it until you know different, right? That's no fault of our own. And part of the reason that I call the emotional body, the pain body, this form we're in, addictive qualities, is because the biofeedback loop that it has within itself that is built in, okay? We have a central nervous system that is automatically built in our system. Okay, it's like turning your car on and you have transmission fluid in your car so you can steer the steering wheel easily, right? If you didn't have the transmission fluid in the car, you wouldn't be able to, you'd notice it. It would be stuck and kind of stiff to you, right? Well, you have biological feedback loops within the human body that cause biological responses. Some of them you're very familiar with: eating, sleeping, eliminating, sweating, those types of things. Those are biological markers that are built in, not even markers. They're built into the central nervous system. And if you think of the central nervous system as up here, right? And then you have two breakoffs. One is parasympathetic and one is sympathetic. Well, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic both are two different types of biological feedback loops upon themselves, and they create a different biological chemical release of hormones, which causes a response in the body, and you behave a specific way. I'll give you an example. You're out partying with your girlfriends and you're having a great night, and you get a little lost in the shuffle walking down the street, and they all cut down an alley, and now you're standing there by yourself and it's dark, you don't know the area, right? And you begin to get a little fearful, okay? You're fearful by a biological instinct. The environment around you, the central nervous system, is trying to make chaos. The environment, like I've told you, around you, your central nervous system is trying to make sense of that chaos. Okay. And the only way it can make sense of that chaos is by these biological hormones and things that happen in our body on an autonomic nervous system level. Autonomic means automatic, okay? So you start to get palms sweating, your heart starts to palpitate, you feel a kind of, really uneasy feeling in your tummy, right? And you begin to experience and manifest anxiety. You begin to shake physically. That's not you doing that. That is a biological feedback loop upon itself. And the mind is the seed for the body. And if the mind says, I'm scared, I don't know this environment, the parasympathetic's going to kick in automatically and do its job. And you're going to run for your life, or you're going to fight for your life. That's why we call it fight, flight. Okay. And so you meet up with your friends a few minutes later, and you're still kind of very anxious, and your heart's palpitating, and your hands are still sweating, and you're just trying to catch yourself, right? Well, you're not catching yourself. Your friends are saying, calm down. They're giving you the reassurance you need in your environment. And the central nervous system is going to make sense of that chaos, and that they're going to say, you're fine. We didn't know you weren't with us in the group. We're so sorry that we left you behind in this brand new area to you. Now, the sympathetic system can come in and bring you back down to homeostasis. Okay. So those are the kinds of biological loops that I'm talking about when I say that if the mind is the seed for my body, okay, I got the question, what does that mean? If your thoughts are feeding your mind negativity, painful memories, fearful thoughts, your body's going to respond appropriately, because it's a built-in mechanism we have that maintains our homeostasis, right? And when you're, I don't want to say it that way, Spirit. Thank you. When you're slumbering, sleeping, okay? It's no fault of your own. We are born into this world into a habitual collective mind pattern, right? Habitual mind pattern. It's psychotic. It's like a split personality, as I've spoke about before. The subject object split, right? Subject object split. My mom was pregnant 10 months with me in her in her belly. Those whole 10 months, her and I were one of the same. Okay, between the ages of 5 and 12 months, I fragment something and I realize that the object subject is a split, and I and my mother are different. We're not the same. She is she and I am I. And she's even telling me, you are you. This is who you are. You're a little boy, you're a little girl, and this is your name, and this is how you're going to behave. Correct. Okay. So it's no fault of your own. So lighten up on yourself, okay? One of the greatest accomplishments in our lifetime is to awaken to the fact that you are not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You're not even the form that you're in. If you know anything about quantum physics, again, quantum physics tells you that even mass is 99.4% dead space, and the rest is particle. It just looks solid to us. Yes? And so your body looks solid to you too. That's okay. And the reason I call the emotion or the pain body an addict, like the Judy Jetson's addict, I call her, is because the emotional pain body needs further suffering to feed on, to cause that biological loop in your system and the release of those chemicals so you can come back down to what is a normal state for you. Okay. That's no different than having an addict or an alcoholic fiending for their next fix, is it? And as soon as they get it, it brings them back down to a state to where they can maintain. Any addict will tell you they don't use because they choose to use. They use because they need it to function. Their body will not function without the chemical. And when it does, they're not prepared for the discomfort that the body will go through. And that's why some don't make it through recovery, because they can't sustain it. Yes. And so the hardest thing to learn about part of this is self-love. You, okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm sorry, she's showing me pictures. Life, how do I say that? You don't need to be, you know what happened to me? Life fucking threw me into the kingdom of heaven all at one time. Just shove me in there. You don't have to get kicked or pushed or shoved into the kingdom of heaven. You don't. Let me tell you something again, and I really want you guys to get this concept if you can, because it's paramount, okay? The minute I make a choice to do something, say something, behave a certain way, right? Through my human body form, processes, emotions, or fears, angers, or what have you. The moment I make a choice to respond or choose in a certain way, the outcome is already decided. And people say, what do you mean by that? Here's what I mean. The cross, the cross. Everyone knows the cross, right? The cross is this way, is the world we live in. And this form that you're in has a central nervous system as the executive driver, and it's trying to make chaos out of this world. Okay? That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. Okay? This portion of the cross is God, is Christ consciousness. It's not God, it's Christ consciousness. And here's what I mean. The minute, let me back up. Okay, back up. She's telling me to back up. Did not Jesus walk this planet as a sentinel being, as in a human form? He did. And did not a community or a bunch of people choose to crucify him on the cross because he was teaching the teachings of Christ? They did. The minute they made the decision to crucify Jesus on the cross, the world decided to crucify Jesus on the cross. They made a choice. Conscious creator made a decision. There will be everlasting life for every one of my children. I do not confuse myself in my son. Jesus and creator are one of the same. So when we fragment, like I was talking about, where I realize mom and I are separate, that's a subject-object split. That is psychotic. It's schizophrenic in the mind, not a diagnosis of psychotic or a diagnosis of schizophrenia. It's in the mind. You're born into a habitual mind pattern that way. The second you make a choice, the outcome is already decided. So they say, I keep looking up to the right because I sit at the right of God, creator, in the kingdom of heaven, and I negate myself. And that's where she's showing me things. So I apologize for that, right? And I sit here and I negate myself and seek his face. And I'm not going to see his face, right? Because he doesn't have a face. He's not a form. Jesus, his son, walked this earth in form, not creator. But creator and Jesus are one of the same, aren't they? So that means God walked this planet in form. God does not confuse himself in his son. So in here, we have an object-subject split, and we are confused, and we have an illusion of the mind. Sorry, that's my cat. And if you are thinking about past, future, and you are in your unhappy self, where it wants you to be, and you're in the mind chatter is just simply the resistance to what is. You're telling yourself a story in your mind and you're talking to it. Who are you talking to? You're talking to one of the same. You are the voice in the head and you are the one speaking. There's no two separate entities. You just say, I can't calm my mind. And some will even be a little taken back and like, I don't have a voice in my head. I'm like, wow, really? Because I had one that would not. It would tell me how to wash my hair. It would tell me what side of the nightstand I should have my alarm clock on. And if I moved it, it would rear its head at me. So I'll give you a test. You can try it. Okay? That's why I'm pointing the way. I'm not getting or asking anyone to change belief system. I'm not asking you to change your opinions, your thought patterns, or even your lifestyle, right? Do one thing. One. One thing that's habitual that you do right now, like maybe have your alarm clock on the same side of the nightstand, move it to the other side. So you have to physically get out of bed and go to the other side of the bed to turn it off. And tell me how much the voice speaks to you in your head about that damn alarm clock should be over there and you know it. And now you're going to be irritated and pissed off and down the rabbit hole before you even can blink. It's unconscious. You don't even know it's happening. It's not your fault. That's what's so. That's why I keep saying this is a conundrum. It's like I wouldn't change anything the way the creator created it. Not one thing. So when I say that life kind of just shoved me through the doors of the kingdom of heaven, it did. Like Eckhart Tolle, he got shoved into the kingdom of heaven too, all in one whoop. My story is almost identical to that man's story on what I've heard from him out of his own speaking, right? Now, I've never met him. I don't know him. And I was spiritually bankrupt prior to my shift. I had no considerable status in my lifetime. I was a nothing, a nobody. Nobody, I was a nurse, a mother, a wife. But let me ask you something. When those identities begin to fall away and your child grows up and has a family of his own or her own, and your career fades away and your marriage falls apart, who are you? Because I'm not a nurse. I'm not a mom. I'm not a wife. I'm not anything but consciousness. I am, therefore I am. Those are simply things I did. Experiences I had in this multidimensional being as a body. Aren't we supposed to be doing that? We're supposed to be doing that, right? And so if we're born into a habitual mind collective pattern of a split personality, psychotic, and a habitual mind pattern of false beliefs and limiting behavior that it causes us, right? That makes us suffer emotionally, mentally, or physically, we're doomed to repeat that cycle until that biofeedback loop upon itself in the body is switched. You have to switch the switch. There's a switch. You can switch it. I've told you, I talk about it. It's a dimmer switch. But I can't do it for you. Your neighbor can't bring it to you, like a nice warm apple pie. Somebody can't buy it for you. You can't Google it and go out on the internet and get it or find it or have somebody ship it to you. And the reason is it lies within you, my friend, right inside you. Just put your hands together and tell me you don't feel the energy between your hands. If the energy is between your hands, it's everywhere in your body. And this is a form you're in. And I know it's a hard concept to grasp. And that's why I'm doing these videos. It was a hard concept for me to grasp. And I think Eckhart talks about it takes a very long time to integrate this. Well, evolution's saying we don't have all this time anymore because time's an illusion, people. There's no sense of time. Do you know how old our planet is? Just our planet. Do you know how old it is? How come it didn't die? It's been destroyed, but it hasn't died. The minute they crucified Jesus on the cross for teaching Christ consciousness in this physical plane, conscious creator, God, whatever it is that you say it is, made a decision that every single one of his children will have everlasting life and they will never die. You're not dying. You're the light of God. You're the light of consciousness. In the Bible, I believe it states, he says, I am the light and you are the light of God. That means you and him are one and the same. Yes? You're not different. So your body becomes this big old contractual energy ball. Like if you look on that kaleidoscope where I'm telling you that grid we live on, it's just contracted energy of pain, emotional trauma, wounds, things that happened to you when you were a kid, things that happened when you were growing up, harms done to you, your rearing, your religion, your status, what your parents told you you should or should not do, how you should behave, right? The reason I say they're limited and pseudo in the nursing field and medical terminology means false. And the reason I use pseudo is because it's a really common thing when you go into, I take a patient to surgery and I have to amputate them below the knee. Yeah. Then you come out of surgery and the patient will actually tell you my leg is still there. No, it's not. It's what your mind says is so. Nothing is good, bad, or indifferent. It's only what your mind says is, right? Now, he probably had some residual that was left over because of a loss of limb. That's tragic. That's a psychological process that he has to go through as a patient, right? But it's not uncommon for them to tell us that the limb is still there. We call it phantom or pseudo pain. They're saying they have pain in that leg and they want me to medicate them for it. And I medicate them for the pain from the surgery, which is acute pain. But let me clarify pain again for you. And if I haven't, let me do that. Pain, acute, is if you break your arm, get into an accident, have a trauma, that's acute pain. You go to the doctor, they fix you up, and you heal, you mend, right? And it goes away. That's acute pain. Chronic pain is different. Chronic pain is where you have the same amount of pain in the area that was injured after the injury stimuli has been removed. After the thing that was taken away that caused that pain to that portion of your body has been removed. For 10 months, you have chronic issue of pain in that area. That becomes called chronic pain now. And now you're telling the mind you have chronic pain and you're releasing hormones. Pain is an illusion. There's no pain. And it's causing a biofeedback on itself. And you'll probably be down the rabbit hole with narcotics or anything else that you can try to relieve your physical pain when you're really only manifesting in physical form the results of what you're seeding the mind. That's why I call the mind the seed for the body. Does that make sense? This collective, energy field she's showing me, like the kaleidoscope that we were all born into, is like my cat's here and he's whining. It's inherited. Whether you know my family and I know your family, the inherited collective pain body everyone has. You inherited it as a collective. Women and men have different pain bodies. And I'll go back to the biofeedback loop of why it's an addictive behavior, because the suffering that you're experiencing wants to experience further suffering so the release of hormones can bring you back down to a calm state. How do I say that? Mhm. Okay. Let's use relationships. And this is why I say there's no true relationship unless you're both conscious. If I have in my body mirror neurons, and those mirror neurons are mirroring trauma, tragedy, pain, emotional, physical, psychological, or anything that I've experienced in my lifetime, and I've been taught habitual mind patterns and false limiting beliefs that my parents taught me that weren't true and that caused me to respond and act in a certain way. Well, my parents in my story taught me codependency. My father was a profound alcoholic, functioning alcoholic. I mean, I never wanted for a thing in my entire life. Functioning alcoholic, one of the best men that I know, right? But my father was an alcoholic, and my mother was a codependent to my father's drinking and would go around behind him and cleaning up his mess. Okay. If I'm a child and I'm learning those things, what kind of partner am I going to attract? Probably a partner who needs fixing that I can codepend, maybe someone who drinks, maybe someone who uses some other type of substance, right? Because I can fix them because my mom showed me how. That's false. I can't fix anybody. I can't do anything like that, right? And everyone has, I'm just giving it as an example, everyone has a different story, right? That's why I keep saying the story itself is irrelevant. It doesn't have any weight bearing. It's just the vehicle that gets you to the doorway to the kingdom of heaven and consciousness, right? Because you don't get slammed into the heaven of God or the kingdom of heaven with God generally, not in my research. Generally, the shift that I've had does not occur to less than, I think it's less than 1% of the population. 1%, that's very, very low. Okay. The rest of it is because it's supposed to be a gradual process. But the mind, the habitual thinking that's going on is the resistance to consciousness. And you are going to resist as long as it takes to learn the lessons you need to learn, to gain the wisdom you need to gain and evolve and move forward in life, right? And as long as we're on the topic and the subject, you're not going to meet someone that does not have a pain body. They do. Every single sentinel being has a inherited collective pain body on top of a separate pain body that they have from their uprearing. Okay. And in order for you to get, I don't want to say it that way, Spirit. There's two things, you have the unhappy me, the unhappy myself, she says. She's showing me unhappy mind chatter where I'm never going to amount to anything, be anybody. I'm always going to be a blue collar worker, blah, 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 whatever it is you're saying. That's the mental commentary. That's the momentum in the mind. If you have momentum in the mind, you have momentum for disease and pain in the body. It's a biofeedback loop. And the body's doing its job perfectly, and you're instructing it because this frontal lobe is here and it's the executive driver. Your right lobe and left lobe can't even communicate with themselves because you're running on a parasympathetic fight-flight mode, in fear, anxiety, insomnia, depression, and I can give you a gamut of lists of things that will manifest in the physical form that you're experiencing because of it. And after 10 months of that, it becomes chronic. And when it becomes chronic, it becomes a in the body, meaning a discomfort, right? A discomfort in the body. And that discomfort in the body causes dis-ease. Why do you think we call disease or spell it the way we do? D-I-S-E-A-S-E. Dis-ease. Are you going to give yourself dis-ease, or are you going to ease up on yourself? Word roots, suffix, prefix. I've been saying it for a minute. And I don't want people to this isn't easy. I mean, this isn't easy. And if someone tells you it is, then they're lying to you, right? Because this is probably why it only happens to 1% of the population, because consciousness is a universal call. Consciousness is out to all, and very few will take the call. That's what I mean by that statement. You've probably experienced bouts of consciousness or periods of consciousness, and you just don't know you have. Hello, Zeta. Hello, my friend. You're not interrupting at all, my darling. Love and light to you. All of you, if you have questions or comments, please make them and state them, right? And so I want to tell you, I had an extremely heavy pain body. And part of my extremely heavy pain body was just not the inherited collective pain body I was born into, but my upbringing. And then I chose a very, very difficult career where I saw things of horrific nature that once you see, you can't unsee, right? And harm that was created by other people to people, and small children being abused and burned with cigarettes, and bringing back body parts and things like that for parents to say goodbye to, So I, over a period of those years and working in that field, accumulated even more pain and trauma of the collective, which was not even mine. And the reason we do that is because I've explained, and I'm going to explain again. If you look into a kaleidoscope and you see all those loops, right? That is the world. That is the grid. We live on a grid. We live on a grid, and it revolves, and it moves, and it shifts, and it changes, and it's evolving, and it's everlasting, and it's multidimensional. It's vast, and everything you could possibly imagine and beyond is already there. Life doesn't have to slam you into the kingdom of heaven like it did me. You can volunteer. You can go willingly. That's why I go back to the Bible again, where God says, I give you free will, go, my child. Object, subject, split. Free will, go, my child. You choose to believe a concept you were taught and behave under the teachings of that concept, and it continually causes you habitual pain and suffering, and you don't change that, and the outcome is the same. Is that not the definition of insanity? Repeating the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results in the end? That by the very definition is called insanity. I think that's how it's defined in the Webster Dictionary. I'm not 100% sure. You can look, but I think that's how it's defined. Your emotional pain body will feed on thinking. And that habitual momentum of thinking will cause a biological chemical response in your body. An emotion will be manifested. A behavior will be manifested. Could be anger that time. Could be Could be anything manifesting, right? It could be anything, but 9 times out of 10, everything that manifests is all fear-based. And fear is false evidence that appears real to you. And so you're afraid of it. We're afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of what others might think because we say we don't know it. I didn't know about a spiritual awakening. I was literally spiritually bankrupt. And if you would have asked me, I would have said, I wasn't pushed or told I had to go to church. And everything my parents taught me about God was that I didn't need to go to church to speak to God, that all I had to do was open my mouth and speak to him. And if I wanted to go to church, I could go. And if I didn't want to go, I didn't have to go. That's my uprearing on religion. You know, my parents didn't go every Sunday. I was spiritually bankrupt. You could have filed a BK on my spiritual bankruptcy and won millions. And I considered myself a highly educated woman, 2 degrees, street smart as best I could with having a baby at such a young age. And when I had my shift, I realized I had a child when I was a child. And I had to live for my child through, and so I lived through my child. I was my child's mother, and I did the very best I could to raise one of the most beautiful men that I know today, my son. And he has every quality I wanted him to have, right? But he also has every single quality I taught him that my mother taught me. Codependency. He can fix everyone. And he has a heavy pain body. And I didn't know I was doing that to my son. Would I do that to my son if I knew? No, I wouldn't. I would go out of my way to do just the opposite. But unconscious, conscious. When you're unconscious, you're not aware you're even doing it, and it's no fault of your own until the veil comes down and you become aware. No one's smarter than you. No one's richer than you. No one's prettier than you. No one has anything more than you. No one should be up here or down here. You have abundance, wealth, prosperity, joy, unconditional love that sits right here inside. And you just can't see it yet. This is why I want to teach, because I want you to volunteer to walk into the kingdom of heaven and not get your ass kicked into it. Because the call is universal, and we will all succumb to it in the end when you expire from this form. You will have to succumb to consciousness. Why not do it now willingly as a volunteer and enter the kingdom of heaven? Seek his face, negate yourself. Don't want or need anything. You don't want or need a thing. You only tell yourself here that you do. The body will take over. The body will take over, and it will pretend it is who you are. And that's why I call it the Judy Jetsons. And there's no need to have pain or further suffering in your life. You don't have to have further pain and suffering to volunteer to walk a middle path into the kingdom of heaven. And Spirit says, what does the Spirit say in the Bible? What is that? Come to me as you are, my child. Why does God say, come to me as you are? Isn't that big to make me question something? Come to you as I am. Okay. I mean, come to you all messed up, jacked up, and psychotic, and losing my mind with anxiety, depression, and just causing so much havoc and censoria for other people. You mean like that? Yeah, that's what he means. Come to me, my child, as you are. Don't fix yourself. Don't do anything. The minute you make a choice, he's there. The decision's already made. So when people say, if I come to you for healing, how many times do I need to come? When you make a choice to heal, the decision for you to be healed is already made. So as a spiritual teacher, I would say to the client or the patient, as long as you feel further suffering within your body and you feel the need. I have no opinion. I have no agenda. And I'm simply seeing the light of consciousness in them and know they're on a personal journey and that they're unconscious, and I turn the other cheek and I ask Spirit, how can I be of service? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. I'll give you an example. I did a live on Friday and I was wrapping soaps. And someone came into the live and behaved very erratically and asked some like 2-paragraph long questions that there's no way I could read as fast as the chat was moving, right? And they were clearly there to cause discord. And as a teacher of Christ consciousness, I have no control over anyone else's response, reactions, behavior, or verbal words or intentions or nothing. Okay. I only am capable of being responsible for myself and my response. And so I recognize it immediately as this person is suffering. This person needs further feeding off their emotional pain body to bring them back down to a homeostasis level. And so they're out poking. And so the body will feed on your thoughts, and it will also feed on others by poking and trying to elicit a response in them. Okay. And if I respond the way they want me to, and I give them what they want, then I'm no different than someone knocking on my door and say, hey, can you give me 100 pills for free? I'm not going to feed your mental addiction any more than I'm going to feed your physical addiction, right? I'm just not going to do it anymore because I understand the habitual insanity of it. It's insane. It's literally insane, psychotic, split, subject, object, split. Why does any of you ever ask yourself, why does Cheryl call it cracked wide open? I'm going to share some personal things here, and they're personal, and I don't mind sharing them. It's okay. I mean, I have nothing to hide, and I have no agenda. When I was living on the lake up at the ranch, I would love to go outside my patio and sit in my yard, and I would look at the mountains there, and it had all this beautiful foliage and trees and just beautiful stuff, right? And I loved it. I love the outdoors. That's my dig. I love the outdoors. I love nature, and I love wildlife. And so I'm sitting at, I don't even know what I'm going to say now. See how I don't have an agenda? What was I saying? Somebody remind me. I can't, I don't have a thought in my brain. Oh, why I called it cracked wide open. Thank you, Spirit. Because when I woke up that morning, with my wildlife and all those things that I love so much, the very first thing I said was, I think you came in my bedroom and hit me in the head with a baseball bat and stole my soul. And I meant it on every level, right? And I said, I've been cracked wide open. I don't know who I am. Cracked wide open, like a tree would crack at just like on Snake Creek, when I would sit out there and we'd have a storm and the lightning would hit a tree and it would crack it down the center and half the tree would float off into the lake. Crack wide open by a natural phenomenon. Lightning is a natural phenomenon, it's energy. And I was cracked wide open by consciousness and slammed, shoved in the kingdom of heaven. Consciousness is a choice that you make. You can volunteer to choose to be in a state of, now, which there's no suffering. Or you can continue to close yourself off to other people, places, and things. But no, if you close yourself off in that way, let's say you're closing yourself off from pain or suffering or having anyone hurt you anymore, right? By the very retrospect of what I'm speaking to you in the conundrum of life, everything is reversed. You're closing yourself off to anything beautiful coming to you as well. It's a conundrum. The consciousness is reversed. It's a complete reversal of what you think it is. You are not the mind. You're not the body. You're not even the things you do. And you're just a multidimensional being having a human experience in this collective world we all live in. And we were all born with this inherited collective pain body. Why is it an inherited collective pain body? Just look at what the women went through in suffrages. Women's rights, suffrage. They couldn't show their head. In some countries, genitals were disfigured. Look at the human suffering that's happened to women. Now flip the other side of the coin. Look at the suffering that's happening to boys and men. It's collective. It's not, nobody's, resisted nobody's unique and set aside where it's not going to happen to them. It's a universal call. And I don't understand, why she's teaching it to me in this way. You would think that she'd tell me to read a book. You think she'd show me a book to read, but I can't for some reason sit down and read a book, right? Because I think what I'm being shown is that she's showing me a few things, right? And mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. The unhappiness, she's saying, the unhappiness, the clinging, the poor me, the poor me is that's resistance. Okay. In the now. If I ask you to put your hand over your heart and touch your thumbs and close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. And while you're there, what's wrong right now? Nothing. Nothing is wrong until the mind begins to tell you with its mental commentary what's wrong. And it's not good, bad, or indifferent. You're not unique. It is what it is. It's a fact. Okay. So if I say, If I say consciousness is a concept, then that wouldn't be truthful, because it would be a concept is something you learn, right? A fact is proven. A fact, science backs it up. So if consciousness leads to that which is beyond and is not a concept, did you ever not look out a window when you were a kid and say, I know there's more to this than this? If you put your hands together and you can feel the energy between your hands, that's powerful energy. That's why I call it cracked wide open. I was cracked wide open, right down the center, subject, object, split. And what you go through during the awakening process is a disentanglement of all of the false limiting beliefs, the thought patterns, the things you were taught that were false and fake and lies and not true. And you're going to spin out of control and have some issues and resist. And that's why I say not all will answer the call, because it can be based on a habitual mind pattern, very can be based on that. You are a contractual, if you want to even say it like that, you could say you're a contractual ball of energy. Sorry, guys, I'm just cleaning a little bit of house here. That's a perfect example of someone in a suffering state that needs to have further food. So they came in here to try to feed off others. That's why I say it'll feed off of you one of two ways, either through the mind or off of others. And either is very harmful. And they'll do it as long as they need to do it. And sometimes they can do it 10 minutes, sometimes they can do it 2 hours. That's why couples will fight for days. They're feeding off one another. And, people will behave and act in certain ways and do things that will provoke a response in you so that you'll allow them to feed. And I just, to me as a nurse, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I'm working on that. I understand they don't understand and they're unconscious. And I turn the other cheek and I see Christ consciousness in them and I try to be of service to them the best I can, but I will not be another's doormat to feed off of. I apologize. I just won't. And I'm not apologizing for that. Greetings from Vegas. How you doing? Yes, I've seen them in other chats as well. And that's what I'm saying to you guys. It doesn't take long to just go look around. Go look at TikTok, go look at Instagram, go look at social media, look at Facebook, look at YouTube. I don't do social platforms anymore since I had my shift. My worth is not based on what someone else likes, sees, says, or does. I'm perfect in every way, shape, or form, the way Creator created me, exactly the way I am right here, right now. And I no longer look for validation in people, places, and things. I don't look for my love, my worth, my joy, my comfort, or any of those things from them. I'm not attached any longer. And that's what the beautiful thing about consciousness is once you open that space, you just give it that window, you just give it that crack. That's why another reason I call it cracked wide open. If you just give yourself a chance and give it that little crack, consciousness will come in, presence will meet that manifestation, whether it's anger, fear, anxiety, or whatever it might be, and bust right through it. If you guys, I've told you about walking the dog. If you have a thought in your head, walk it like a dog. Don't engage it. Don't talk to it. Don't answer it. Leave it alone. And every single time you do that, it will become easier and easier and easier. And the thoughts will begin to fade faster and faster and faster. It's like magic. It's like magic. The minute you engage that thought, know that it's causing a biological feedback loop in your system. It's causing a biofeedback loop in your system. Hello, Amy. And it's going to cause a biological chemical release of hormones from the autonomic nervous system. I'm not going into pituitary glands and which ones release which, because you guys would be here forever, and you'd have to you'd end up with a degree. That's why I went to school. That's why I went to school. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. Before I had my shift, I thought I was a very intelligent woman. I thought I had 2 degrees. I was a great nurse. I was a mom. I was accomplished. Please. Those are all things I did. Those are all things I did, and that brought me to the catalyst of consciousness and being slammed into the kingdom of heaven, because I resisted, because I had so much mental chatter in my mind, and the habitual pain body I had that I was inherited, and the one I collected in the trauma bay. Painful, painful, painful. And I wasn't aware. No one told me that happened. I was taught about mirror neurons, how they take a snapshot of every single event in our life. But nobody told me that on the DNA chain helix, the things that Spirit's showing me now, Spirit's literally showing me things, showing me them. Those are gifts that are being given to me. They're not mine. Everything I have is on loan. Everything I have is on loan. Everything in my house is secondhand. And they're gifts. I think that it was just amazing when I found them, right? They were the perfect gift for the perfect spot. And it was amazing. Okay, hold on. Let me let him out. Come on. You are a silly little boy. Did you have some cookies? I've always said you don't own a cat owns you. You end up doing what that cat wants you to do when that cat wants you to do them. I apologize for that. So sorry. Does anyone have any questions? I know this is a really extremely hard topic. I'm trying to write, okay? I'm not a writer. New Earth. Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Now. Eckhart Tolle. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Joe Dispenza. Michael Sanger, The Experiment. Gabrielle Bernstein. All of them, people that I'm mentioning off, have been awakened. Deepak Chopra, awakened. And they will speak of the same things I'm speaking to you about. And they are spiritual teachers, and they are spiritual teachers on the level that their students understand. I'm not a doctor. Never want to be a doctor, because I always thought it was just writing prescriptions and got away from bedside care. But science is very, 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 very interesting. I love science. And if I can prove a fact from a theory and prove it, right, from a hypothesis and create a fact, a scientific fact, that's power. That's how the universe changes. But if you can't see a scientist that can tell you what consciousness looks like, can you? Do you know one? I don't. Do you know a neuroscientist that works in a lab that does studies on brain? Can they show me or tell me, show me consciousness or God? No. They can't show me heaven. They can't show me consciousness, because consciousness does not lie in the brain. It's to me, it's mind, heart, biofeedback. I think a thought causes something in my heart to happen. Yes. In general speaking, if it's a bad thought, it hurts my heart. If it's a good thought, it warms my heart, right? But in between here and here, all these and all this thalamus and all these glands as biofeedback markers that you have in your body and that are going to respond accordingly. And so again, the mind is the seed for the body. Spirit shows me plasma. It's very interesting, don't you think? And not only plasma, but cells. And I know they're cells because I've studied cells. They're not just regular simple cells, they're complex cells, they're multidimensional cells, they're chains of cells, they're links of cells. She shows me cytoplasm and it's splitting and mitosis. So it brought up some questions for me, because free radicals are in the air. That's how disease and viruses and the flu and the measles and all these things are caught through air and off counter spaces and bathrooms and things like that, right? So it is one big cell. I heard somebody say this, and I don't know who it was. I'm going to describe it the only way I know how to describe it and what she showed me. And some of you may not, I don't know, understand, and some of you may. There is a whole nother thing, a whole nother world you're not aware of. Vast, with such probability and possibilities, and there isn't any one thing you could think of or go beyond your imagination that is not already there and exists. It's there. And someone said, well, I don't understand why you say it's a conundrum and as simple as the nose on your face. And I'm drawn back to this, and I don't know where I heard it. Jesus was standing around when he was walking in this universe with his disciples and his healer. And they were discussing where to put the soul. And one of the disciples says, put the soul at the top of the mountain. And the other one says, no, they'll find it there. The other one says, well, put it down in the depths of the sea. And he said, no, they'll snorkel down there and get it too. And the healer steps up. And the healer says, to Jesus, put the soul in their heart, they won't look there. And you don't. And you haven't. And that's why it's only happened to 1% of people in the world, because you don't look there. Because it's the hardest thing to look there. It's the hardest thing to do, is to look in the heart of oneself, to be love and self-love. You are love. Do you know, if you could emanate love to the universe, how beautiful you would be? Just by the emanation of you making a choice to send out that love, the decision of beauty is already being sent to you, and the decision was already made the minute you made that choice. That's what I mean about that statement. And if I choose to create samsara and suffering and discord, then by the very retrospect, am I not going to get that back? And so it's a conundrum, but as simple as the nose on our face. And so hard to do. That's the conundrum. That's the conundrum. I mean, I've got stacks like this. I just looked at it today. It's about this big of writings. Because every day, now imagine every day writing something for, what's today? The 26th. Hey, hey, hey. So 2 years, 10 months, the 28th. 2 years and 11 months, the 28th of this month, and 3 years on the 28th of March, right? If someone would have told me this, and they would have said to me that you don't have to suffer anymore, and you don't have to experience any more pain, I'd probably slapped him. I'd probably said, what are you talking about? I'd have probably been upset with them, or said, what are you, because I would have been, they would have been speaking to my emotional pain body. It's like, oh, thank you. When I see the eyes of others, there's a light, right? And I can see the light, or the light is out. And it's unfortunate that most that come across my path, their light is out, but the ones that are ready are ready. And so those are the ones that come to the teacher. Those are the students that are ready. And so the ones that are here, you've already opened the door. You've already opened the space for consciousness to enter. That's beautiful. And are we not crazy cray human beings that want instant gratification? The minute we do something, we want to see results, and we want to see it now. I always thought that the nursing field taught me patience. No, the nursing field taught me tolerance, not patience. It taught me what I was willing to tolerate and put up with in the name of nursing, right? It didn't teach me how to be patient with other sentient beings and not judge them for who they are or what they do. It's like when I'm talking to someone and I can literally see the wheels turning, not literally see it, but I sense the wheels are turning, and that they already have an automatic response, and they're just getting ready to vomit it all over me. It's okay. Vomit away. I'm not your doormat, but I will see the light of consciousness in you. I will love you, and I will tell you or point the way in some way, shape, or form, and I will ask God how I can be of service to you. Because I'm no different than you, and I was there. And is that not calling the kettle black? That's what God talks about. Can you look at your brother with such a splinter in your own eye? You can't, and you won't. You'll not judge a thing. Not a thing. Not one thing. That's why people say, well, everything in your house is secondhand. Yeah. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? And it has so much life. An animate object. To bring yourself into consciousness, look at a candle. Look at a candle. Go outside and ground yourself in earth. Earth yourself. You can't be grounded unless you're in consciousness. I've stated that before, but you can earth yourself and bring your body back into homeostasis. And then what you're going to do, you're not going to be any different than chasing, the pain body consists of a lot of ways and a lot of energies that will cause you to respond and react to feed it. And it'll be on your thinking, and it'll be on the person, place, or thing. And your pain body can lay dormant, or it can be very, very active. If it's very, very active, which I don't think I've ever seen, I think that would be probably pretty rare. But there are people who I have experienced being around, that they are not happy unless they're creating misery, and misery loves company. And so if one or two are gathered, there he is in the midst. And if you're choosing free will discord, then God says, go, my child, you have free will. I don't judge you. I bless you, my child. Bless you, my child. So I understand that this is not easy, and our habitual mind chatter and clutter and that we tell ourselves is just, no, it's a resistance to consciousness, because the ego does not want to die. The little egoic box that you've carved out for yourself, it does not want to die, and it can lay, your pain body can lay dormant until that one day. Like me, that one day. For 16 months prior to my shift, I searched high and low on every level for a reason as to what was happening in my home was happening. To no avail. To this day, I'm being told it's a medical condition, which there's no medical condition that would ever cause me to betray another. I don't give a shit what the condition is. And so to me, that's an excuse, and that person just needs to grow and learn some more, and they need to feed a little more and have a little more pain and suffering in their life before the catalyst of an awakening occurs to them. That's okay. No judgment. No fault of their own. They don't even know they're doing it. It's okay. It is what it is. It's an energy field, and we are living on an energy grid, and consciousness is here. Hi, paper. And so whether the pain body lays dormant or whether it is active. If it's active, you'll know it's active because it will manifest it in some way, like the person that came in here and tried to poke at me and get a response out of me by telling me something about my mom. It's futile for me to battle the mind of another when I know what's happening. I can be of service. I can help. I can assist. I can point the way. That's what I want to do. I'm not special. I'm not unique. I'm not different. I'm not above you. I'm not anything but consciousness. I am consciousness. What's that? Who said that one? I might have read it. Maybe I read it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I read that. I'm sorry. She's showing me something, and it's a Buddha showing a finger. Oh, okay. Consciousness has such a sense of humor. Okay, there's something about a Buddha teaching somewhere something. I don't know where. I don't know what it is, but it's quite interesting. And one of the students asks the teacher for a question, and he puts his finger up, and she's saying stillness. That's what he was meaning, stillness, right? And something about three eyes. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. She's showing me three eyes. So if you have questions and you have, you want me to answer some of those questions, I will try. And please know that I'm just going to put this out there, okay? I worked for a very long time in a very intensive field, okay? And where I worked, there was not any room for arguing with anyone. When an action was required, it was required, and if they got in the way of that, it generally had to do with my patient's life, right? Because it was a trauma bay. And so if a student doctor come onto the bay and he's learning how to intubate and my patient's turning blue and his SATs are 89, I'm going to speak to you as a student doctor very adamantly. And I'm going to ask you to get out of my way because my patient's SATs are this and he's blue and I need to get him intubated now. And you can try on another. I know they got to learn. We all have to learn, right? But the only the only reason I'm saying this to you is because some people have said I was unapproachable because I was up here. No. When you're trained for 38 years of your patient's best interest at bay, right? And let no one get in the way of that, including a physician. If you prescribe the wrong medication or you do something harmful to my patient, I'm going to step in. And 9 times out of 10, because their name said MD, we had to be a little adamant about it and save their asses many, 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 many times. Okay. But please know when I'm talking, I'm speaking adamantly, and I have so much love to give every single person who wants it. I have so much to share to whoever wants to hear the information I have to share. And I'm not speaking adamantly because I'm superior or know anything because I don't know shizzle. I don't know shizzle. I'm no greater, no better, no less than, nothing than you. I am the light of consciousness, and so are you. And so we're no different. And so for me to sit in, that's why I say there's no judgment. When you have this shift, you'll know this. Right. And that might even be a little bit of my emotional pain body wanting to approach you and say, hey, don't think I'm unapproachable. I'm not. I'm one of the nicest people you will ever meet in your entire life. I'm kind, compassionate, and considerate. I love everybody. Children and old people and dogs gravitate towards me. I don't know what it is. And I don't have an ill bone in my body, or an intention to throw it out of. Nothing. I'm consciousness. I'm the light of God, and so are you. One of the same. Spiritual teacher does not confuse himself and his students. Spiritual teacher is a label somebody puts on you. Yes, I see you, darling. That's a label someone puts on you. It's not my teaching. The conscious teaching of Christ consciousness, the content never changes, only the curriculum. That's no different than the curriculum for a second grader versus one teacher and a second grader for another teacher. They may teach the same content, but their curriculum may be totally different. Spirit's universal. Status does not make a difference. Color doesn't make a difference. Money doesn't make a difference. Creed doesn't make a difference. Location doesn't make a difference. And status doesn't make a difference. There is no judgment in the eyes of God. And so I sit in no judgment, and I sit in the kingdom of heaven with consciousness, my creator, negating myself. And when my emotional pain body wants to rear its head, it's usually residual that's lying within me, and it's not mine. And most of it that I've noted has been my mother's, or a trauma I experienced on my bay. Not to me, but that I experienced energetically because of a tragedy, right? And you soak that up. I'm an empath. I'm highly psychic, and gifts are coming on board, and I don't understand them all. I don't want to understand them all. It's a fact. It's happening, and I'm just surrendered, complete surrender to the now. Does it say that? No. It's get this book. I'm not even on page 20 of this book. I'm sorry, Mr. Toll. But Spirit's saying don't read. Spirit's saying everything you need, I'm going to show you. And maybe she's doing that because I'm writing my book, right? I'm trying to write my book. So, but I'm not a writer. See, I didn't go to school to write. I went to school to be a nurse. So I appreciate you guys so much. I really, really do. It's been an hour and 20 minutes, and time is a construct. There's no time, right? It's a man-made construct. So when I say 1 hour and 27 minutes and 43 seconds, that's a construct. Your mind can go, oh, you've been on there an hour and a half. Mental commentary. Mental commentary might cause a response in my body if I engaged that and was down the rabbit hole, because a biological chemical hormone would be released, and it would cause a response in my body, and I would manifest anger, fear, anxiety, whatever wants to manifest itself, right? So one of the hardest things for this is allow the process to take place. Allow the opening. Allow the space. If you allow the space, the opening, consciousness presence will meet that manifestation of anger, fear, or whatever that's manifested itself, and bust right through it. Crack it wide open. Consciousness knows itself, and it recognizes itself. It's quite beautiful. And if I can give this to, I can't give it to anybody. See, I have to retrain myself in the way I speak, because I can't give this to anyone. I can only teach and point the way. You, my beautiful sentinel being, are the only person, the only light that can do this for yourself. You're worth it. I think you're worth it. But the question, do you think you're worth it? Give yourself a shot. Find the space, do the tapping, do the breathing, do the, with the thumbs here in the heart. Find some incense, do some meditation, earth yourself outside. Always send an email, a question, a response, a comment. I will leave the videos up from now on. Know your higher self is seeking knowledge, and your higher self knows already where to go to get that knowledge. And if you are slumbering and you're seeking that knowledge, you've already created a space and opening. You're already ready for the shift. Your higher self is guiding you because you're really not in control of anything. Hello, Razin. How are you doing? So I wanted to share a little bit with you guys today. I'm going to go make a black raspberry vanilla soap for an order, and some cinnamon suckers. And then I'm going to chill out and have a really beautiful pot roast that I've had in the crock pot all day that I marinated for 5 hours. Bam! So falling apart delicious. And I'm going to feed my body. If an action's required, no, an action will be taken and you'll do it. You always catch the end of the lines. Oh, that's because you're a busy person. It's because you're a busy person. You can always put replay and put it on while you're doing your work over there. And if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Leave a comment. It's always reach out to me in the emails. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Sounds yummy, doesn't it? I have a fragrance oil I want to use to called hot apple pie. My gosh, it smells heavenly. But I don't know what I want to do with it. So please email me, you guys. And if you're a conscious creator or you're spiritually awakened and you would like to co-create with me, and so we can come together for the collective, for the greater good of you and me and the collective consciousness, please don't hesitate to ask or invite. I've put out several requests and gotten no answers back yet. And I know everyone's busy, and that's okay. Spirit will bring what needs to be brought when it needs to be brought. And no different than that. It's perfect timing, right? Perfect timing. So I'll leave you guys with a little closing of the bell. My heart feels beautiful. Deep breath. Oh. Try not to kill your ears. If anyone's looking to have their name placed in the Reiki box, just write Reiki box, and I'll put you in and send distant healing to you. All you have to do is receive. Nothing more. I love you guys so, so much. Peace. Big shout out to you for moderating, and PJ for moderating. I love you guys so, so much for keeping the chat under control for me. And I hope to see you very, very soon with another video under Cracked Wide Open. Namaste, everybody.